Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving headfirst into a war that's happening right now on your devices, completely unseen. We're talking about malicious software. So, let's get into it.
So why should you care? Well, let's start with a number. A really, really big number. $6 trillion. That was the predicted cost of cybercrime to the global economy way back in 2021. And get this, it's growing by a crazy 15% every single year. We're talking about one of the biggest transfers of wealth in human history.
So what's the weapon behind this trillion-dollar problem? It's something called malware. You've probably heard the term, but what is it really? It's short for malicious software, and that's the perfect description. At its core, it's just code. Any software that's built with bad intentions. To cause chaos, steal your private info, or just sneak onto your computer without you knowing.
Okay, so to figure out how to defend ourselves, we first have to know our enemy, right? We need to understand its arsenal. That means digging into what malware actually is, where it even came from, and how it's changed over the years.
Malware's backstory is actually pretty fascinating. It all started back in the 80s with viruses like C-Brain. Honestly, they were more like digital pranks, passed around on floppy disks. Yeah, floppy disks. Then in '88, things got a little more serious with the Morris worm, the first major internet worm. It was actually created by a student as an experiment that, it got out of hand big time. But the real turning point? That was around 2003. Once online shopping and digital money took off, the criminals saw a huge opportunity. Suddenly, malware wasn't about pranks anymore. It became a full-blown, for-profit criminal enterprise.
And that enterprise has created a whole family of different digital weapons, each one with its own special trick. So let's break down the main types of malware you're likely to bump into.
So, how do all these different malware types work? Well, a good way to think about it is to group them by what they're trying to do. Some are just built to spread like wildfire. Others are all about deception, tricking you. And then you've got ones like ransomware, which are purely about getting paid. Each one has a different playbook to get what it wants.
Okay, so let's get the two classics straight. A virus versus a worm. The key difference is this. A virus is like its biological counterpart. It needs a host. It has to latch onto a program or a file to survive, and it only spreads when you actually run that infected file. A worm, on the other hand, it's a standalone program. It can travel across networks all by itself, looking for holes to sneak through. No human help needed.
And then you have the Trojan. This one uses a strategy that's as brilliant as it is ancient. Pure deception. You know this story, right? The Greeks hiding in a giant wooden horse to get inside the city of Troy? Well, this malware does the exact same thing, hiding its malicious code inside something that looks totally safe.
See, unlike viruses and worms that can spread on their own, the Trojan is different. It relies on you. It needs you to open the gates by clicking a bad link, opening an attachment, or installing what looks like a harmless app. They're masters of disguise, posing as games, useful tools, or maybe that urgent security update you just got an email about. Once you let it in, game over. It can install other malware, steal your data, or just create a secret backdoor for attackers to come and go as they please.
All right, now let's talk about the one that keeps cybersecurity pros up at night: ransomware. This isn't about just causing trouble for the sake of it. This is about one thing and one thing only: cold, hard cash.
And believe me, this isn't some small niche problem. Ransomware has absolutely exploded. It's now the dominant force in cybercrime, responsible for nearly half of all data breaches lately. Why? Because for the criminals, it's incredibly direct and wildly profitable.
The idea behind it is brutally simple, but so effective. The ransomware gets on your machine and scrabbles everything: your photos, your documents, your entire digital life, with powerful encryption. Then you get a message on your screen: pay up, usually in crypto, or you will never, ever see those files again.
But here's where it gets even crazier. As more and more companies started saying, nope, we're not paying, the attackers had to up their game. They got more aggressive. They've literally turned ransomware into a sophisticated business with its own dark economy and playbooks.
So, welcome to the world of ransomware as a service, or RAS. And yes, you heard that right, it works just like a legitimate software company. You have developers who create the nasty code, and then they lease it out to other criminals who maybe don't have the same technical skills. These RAS kits even come with subscription plans, 24/7 customer support, and negotiation guides. It's made it possible for practically anyone to launch a devastating attack.
And this just shows you how far they've pushed things. It all started with step one: just encrypting your data. Then they added double extortion. Now, they don't just lock your files. They steal a copy first and threaten to leak your sensitive data online if you don't pay. And today, we're seeing triple extortion. They add a third layer of pain, like hitting your website with so much traffic it crashes, or even directly contacting your customers and partners to maximize the pressure. It's ruthless.
So, with threats this organized and this advanced, what are we supposed to do? How on earth can we possibly stay safe?
Well, the good news is that defense isn't about finding one magical tool that solves everything. It's about building resilience. It's a mindset, really, based on a few core principles. Being prepared, building walls, and frankly, having a healthy dose of suspicion.
And the first principle, the most powerful one by far, is having backups. I love this quote from Splunk. Properly stored backups turn a ransomware incident from a crisis into an inconvenience. And that's it right there. If you can restore your data from a clean offline copy, the attackers have nothing on you. Their leverage is gone. What would have been a company-ending crisis becomes just an annoying inconvenience.
Okay, so beyond backups, it's all about building walls inside your digital world. Network segmentation is huge. Think of it like a submarine with watertight compartments. If one section gets breached, you can seal it off and the rest of the sub is safe. And you have to secure your third parties, your vendors, your partners. Because attackers love to use them as a Trojan horse to get into your network. It's like vetting who you give a key to your house.
All of this really leads to a foundational idea for modern security called zero trust. The mindset is incredibly simple but powerful. Never trust, always verify. That's it. In a zero-trust world, it doesn't matter if you're inside the network or outside. Every single attempt to access anything has to be proven and authorized. It makes it so much harder for an attacker to move around, even if they somehow manage to sneak in.
At the end of the day, this fight against malware is a constant cat-and-mouse game. The attackers evolve, and so we have to evolve. And that really brings us to the big question for all of us, doesn't it? As malware transforms from just lines of code into a full-blown criminal industry, are your defenses evolving fast enough to keep up?